Hey y'all, Joefer here, the cranky old gay guy. It is Thursday, some date in July. Um, and just a moment, I'm going to push a button here. I'm taking my blood pressure because I'm supposed to do this twice a day for the next few weeks.
Attention, the measurement is starting. Please relax. Do not move or talk.
I'm going to talk anyway. This little machine, it's all, I don't know, it's got a British voice, but it came from China. So I do this every day and make sure it's not skyrocketing. I have my arm up on a box, so it's above my heart or level with my heart. It's that and take your temperature throughout the day, off and on. Not so much now, but it was right out of the hospital because they want to make sure you don't have a fever and you don't have any kind of infections going on. I told you yesterday that I had
Your blood pressure is systolic 113, diastolic 82, and pulse is 96.
Well, I think 113 over 82 is okay. Since when I go into an actual doctor's office, it's usually in 130s. So that could be white coat syndrome, meaning your blood pressure jumps when you go to a doctor's office. That's what the various doctors over the years have always told me. I'll put that away. So yesterday, my friend called and said, hey, are you going to the river today? And I said, I'm thinking I might. And then he had a discussion about wind because the weather apps said 25-mile-an-hour winds. And it was like, that's crazy. Mine only said 12. Still, that's too much wind for an umbrella or anything, which kind of, you look at the hour-by-hour thing on the weather app, and it says like by 1 o'clock it'll be down to 7, which is still windy, but it's not so windy that it's going to give you a sand bath or anything like that. So that tells me what time I want to get to the river. So I did get there. There were more people around my friends than I thought. Normally it's just 4 or 5 people, but there were like 15. And everybody knows each other because a lot of us play pool together and the rest of us just know each other from the river. I did get wet, not my head, but just up to here. The water was okay. I did a few little, part of it drops right down. So rather than going to water, I had to wave my arms, kick my feet. It wasn't bad and I didn't get exhausted from it, and that's good. I was going to tell you what made me cranky yesterday, and I said I'll save it for its own video. So while I was the last couple weeks just lying on the couch most of the day, I watched a lot of old television shows like That's My Mama, Some Good Times, Archie Bunker, or All in the Family. And something I noted was that it's super sexist. All of them were super sexist. And if not outright racist, they were very stereotyping of certain cultures and certain skin colors. And the jokes were misogynistic. And when I say sexist, I mean women in these shows were treated as objects, and they were treated as objects for men. They weren't really written to have minds of their own or dreams or aspirations, except to be a good wife. And for the guys, it was all about scoring. So watch any episode of That's My Mama, and Clifton, who is the star of the show. Is it Clifton? I think it's Clifton. Because it's Clifton Curtis is his name on the show. Clifton Davis is the actual actor, who, by the way, I looked him up online. He's 79, I think, right now, and he still looks really good. And it said there's a CBS soap opera called Behind the Gates. I saw part of one episode on a replay. And I don't know what time it actually airs, because it's also like on Hulu or Paramount or something like that. He says in this article that he is going to be playing a judge on that show. I haven't seen it, seen him portrayed, but just the still pictures of him, he still looks really good. But what I was getting at is I had this discussion with a straight guy, something about sexism, and then all guys are alike. And I hear that a lot is that, oh, well, all men are alike. All they want is sex, 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 sex. And then I've also heard that gay men want sex and have sex all the time because it's with other guys and that's what guys want. Well, that can be any guy anywhere if they have a wide range of standards that they'll play around with. So what makes me cranky is that so much of America, the United States, still buys in to the attitudes of these 1970s shows. It's blacks don't like the police. The police think that blacks do not, or black people, black men, primarily black boys or younger men, all they do is commit crime. The word honky on these shows is thrown around all over the place. And in none of the shows do they allow black women to be the focus character. Again, they're written just to be the playthings of men. And then the mama, like on That's My Mama, or even on Good Times, they're a hardworking woman who raised a family, and there's no one thinks about her other than her being their mother, and she is not an object of desire for anyone in these shows. Sure, That's My Mama, she's had dates, like an old boyfriend will show up, and he looks like he's in his late 60s, and she's playing someone in her 50s. And they don't really do anything. It's just like sassy and flirty, but that's about it. And what makes me cranky is that I know men today, all colors, or all races, which I shouldn't say races, that should not be used because we're all humans and that we are part of the human race. So I don't know how to break you down by skin color and call that a race, because I don't think that's should be it. And that's not really a correct term because we're all the same race. And what would be really great is if we were all treated the same way, as in civil rights and respect and courtesy. But that's an off subject. Where did I go with the crank? And by the way, short-term memory loss is something I'm going to have for at least 6 more weeks, because that's when the doctor said in 6 weeks, I think you'll be perfectly fine. See, there it went again. I heard a dog barking and my mind just... So, the crank. The crank is that men today and society today should not view men in the same way they did in the 1970s. I also watched a show, I think it's on Netflix or Prime. It was called Duster, because the lead character was a runner or delivery man for a gangster in the 70s. I say gangster, I don't know if it was really gangsters, but it was in Arizona or New Mexico. Arizona. It was in Arizona. And the show dealt with him, who, by the way, physically, I think from here down, I liked it. From here up, not unattractive, but his hair was greasy all the time, always looked greasy and dirty, and hung way down here. The fashion was very 1970s, the way that I remember it. I was a teenager in the late 70s. Well, yeah, I was a teenager in the 70s, put it that way. So I do remember the fashion. And it's also very sexist and misogynistic, this movie. But I don't even know how I got on that vein, except it was related to the 70s. The cranky part is that people today still view people like they did back then. And I know people my age do, and we were raised in that. But people who were born, you know, in the 90s or later, so I don't know if that'd be Gen Z or Gen Y, doesn't matter. What matters is that why they, so many of them, still have the same attitudes that I was taught growing up, that this is how this person will be and this is how this race will be. That's what makes me cranky. And I know this is wandering, and I had it all sketched out. I didn't write a script, but I knew what I was going to talk about today. And somehow it just all went out the window. Oh boy. So tomorrow I'm going to try to put together an actual video. I'm going to try to edit it about this whole thing and what I have learned, and not like life lessons learned, but after meeting with the doctor yesterday when I was at the river, one of my friends' husbands is a doctor, and I was sitting with them and he asked about this and I told him, and he explained a lot of things that they didn't explain to me through the neurosurgeon's office. So I don't want to sound like I've misinformed anyone, because this was a serious incident. But some people will think, oh, it's not as bad as we thought it was, which, you know, it's not as bad as I thought it was either. But I'll get into that tomorrow. So for the rest of the day today, I would like you to probably not watch the news. And when I say news, I mean stay away from Fox News all the time. But don't watch any of these talk shows that are all, they just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Like right now, they talk about Epstein a lot. And then the president strikes back and has Pam Bondi fire the persecutor or the lead prosecutor of the Epstein trial and Ghislaine Maxwell. So that opens up the wide door where now Ghislaine, her family sends a letter to Congress and says she's willing to testify. She knows all sorts of stuff, which it's like, it's kind of a stupid thing to publicize, because then I would think that she needs armed guards around her all the time now to protect her. But then the president dismisses this prosecutor and says that all of these files that don't exist were created by Obama and Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. But now the family has justification to get a retrial, because they're asking for a retrial. And their defense will be, well, the president said that these lists, or Pam Bondi said the list doesn't, that she prosecuted me on. Everything that they held against me and put me in prison for doesn't exist. So where's the evidence? And I think that, and plus the president has been discussing on talk shows that, you know, yeah, I might just pardon her. So that makes me cranky in another direction. But stay away from that stuff, because it's all just blather to take your mind off what's really going on. And a lot is going on, but I'm not going to talk about that because it's politics, and I know how some of you feel about that. The little politics I throw in, I get enough negative feedback on. I'm not going to go full conspiracy theory. Yeah. So stay away from the news, stay away from those talk shows, and stay cranky, my friend. Stay cranky. Bye-bye.